For those of you who are already top employers, you know this. For those of you who aren't, just 2 slides on who we are. So we are the global authority on certifying excellence in HR practices. Our aim with our participants is to accelerate the impact of HR policies to enrich the world of work. And when we do that, we help our clients out, and we also gain a wealth of data which allows us to create events like this using the insight from our participants. We're currently in 123 countries around the world. We have just under 1,900 certified participants globally, and that impacts a little over 8 million employees. In the UK, these are the current top employers, and all of these participants have gone through a rigorous HR process to verify that they have the right policies and practices in place in their organisations, validated by us, and that therefore they are going to be driving and enriching the world of work for their employees. And all of our speakers today, with the exception of our keynote, are all top employers. It's one of the things we differentiate, is that we bring people to you who have hit the standards required, and they generously give up their time to come and share their examples of best practice and their learnings that hopefully will engage ideas and thoughts and conversations amongst us. So is HR the growth engine of the organisation? The reason I say this is, from the latest data, COVID, whilst in year 1 organisations coped incredibly well with regards to growth and profitability, in year 2 it definitely had an impact. And while some organisations still did well, revenue growth became much more of an issue, and it is now the number 2 priority amongst top employers for key business priorities. Number 1 is still customer. And what that means is that HR is seeing a change in their priorities to support those business needs. And what we see are 3 key changes in the metrics of what's important to HR. So diversity and inclusion. And I have to be honest, I'm not sure whether to be delighted or despairing about this. D&I is up to number 2, which is brilliant. It was 11th 5 years ago. But when you consider that 5 years ago was when Deloitte brought out its report demonstrating conclusively that inclusion made organisations twice as likely to exceed their targets, 3 times as likely to be a high-performing organisation, 8 times as likely to achieve better business outcomes. Again, our panel discussion later, why is it 5 years after that became common knowledge that D&I is only now jumping up to number 2 in the priority list? Well-being is well up there. And again, I think that overlaps quite concretely with what I'm sure many of us are dealing with the question around hybrid and home working. And with regards to employee engagement, there are a few other key issues, which I'll get to. So with diversity and inclusion, second biggest priority. And what's really interesting is you can see those jumps across a whole range of different metrics. So whether you're looking at D&I networks advising on best practice, whether it's about employees being involved in building a diverse and inclusive culture, whether it's leaders being trained, all of these metrics are increasing dramatically year on year. And what's really interesting, if we then look at what the percentage of top employers who consistently undertake certain initiatives to support D&I, you can see that on a 3-year track, when we've been asking the question for that period of time, that it's not also just narrow D&I, if I can call it that. This includes employing those from disadvantaged backgrounds, disability disclosure programs. And again, whether to be delighted or despairing, establishing a formal LGBT network still only sits at 70%. I think the question there, or the clarification there is formal. We do also have plenty of top employers and other organisations who have informal networks. And I suppose we need to take that into account when they don't come into the metrics. And what I really like, particularly the last one, is diversity of thought and experience. It's one of those diversity elements that often gets overlooked. And the fact that amongst our top employers we see it increasing year on year is actually a really positive trend. With well-being, we see a similar trend, unsurprisingly. So all of the key metrics. And it comes down to very quite specific things. So discouraging email use outside of working hours, guaranteed time to unplug, having burnout recovery support programs, coping with information overload, and obviously a new question in the last couple of years, vaccination program. But But again, what I find really encouraging is that leap forward, because it is something to bear in mind. We use the word consistently here. Lots of organisations will do these things inconsistently. What we look for is that consistency of application across an entire employee base to all employees. And so when you see these kind of growth metrics, it's really positive. Although, again, more can be done. And a really interesting set of stats for this room is when we look at the UK versus the rest of the world amongst certified top employers. So this is amongst organisations around the globe that hit our global standard and are doing really well. And yet even within that cohort, the UK outperforms the rest of the world significantly. Whether it's about having wellbeing champions, making better use of technology, financial education, EAP programmes, all of these, the UK is consistently outperforming the rest of the world on those metrics. So it's something that I think as a country and as an HR function within the UK, definitely something that we should be looking ourselves and patting ourselves on the back about. It's funny, when I was pulling these slides together, we use the phrase employee engagement, and it is still kind of relevant, but our white paper we produced earlier this year actually came to the conclusion that engagement isn't enough anymore, and we actually need to talk about involved employees. Employees are now looking for more. They're looking for ways to be involved in strategy, ways to be involved in decision making. They want to be involved in the organisation beyond their basic job description. They want, an organisation needs to respond to that, thinking about proper employee experience and not just job roles and job descriptions. And we can see here, from an employee's perspective, work-life balance has shot up to second from number 10. Organisations' mission and purpose is up to fourth from sixth, and the overall employee experience stays important at third. I do find it really interesting, and it's not for the remit for today, but development opportunities stay number one. So no matter how much people talk about wanting to work from home and work-life balance absolutely being a key issue, amongst employees, the opportunity to develop and further their careers is still a significantly clear number one priority. And again, versus the rest of the world, the UK leads again. So whether it's having a formal engagement strategy, including metrics, or whether it's having focus groups to align on making improvements within organisations, there is a differentiation, a significant statistical one between the UK and the rest of the world. So I think, again, we can look amongst ourselves and think that it's easy to pick up the things we're not doing. It's easy to challenge ourselves and others for things that aren't happening. But overall, the message certainly seems to be that we're doing things pretty well.